how much money I made from Barre to Brunch in 2025. My name's Jenna. I'm a full-time influencer. I'm a fitness instructor and I'm an event planner. Last year, I launched an event series called Barre to Brunch and I completely underestimated just how popular it was going to be. I went to 5 different cities: Austin, Dallas, Houston, Cleveland, and Boston, selling 200 tickets in every city, selling out in seconds with wait lists of thousands of girls. I've always been very transparent about how much it actually costs to host events for 3 main reasons. Number 1, it is so important for me that I have a trust with the people who follow and support me, and I'm so thankful that people spend their hard-earned money to come to my events. I want them to know where I'm allocating their money and how much I'm actually making of it. 2, you guys are nosy and you eat this shit up. 3, I also have a lot of small business owners or girls who follow me who are interested in getting into event planning. So I just want to be super candid and honest about how much this actually costs. I figure the best way to format this video is to tell you guys about some of the reoccurring expenses that I have for every city. Every city is different, but I'm always going to have the major expenses like your venue, catering, bar, florals, staging, sound, yoga mats, bar socks, gift bags. These are some of the expenses that have been the exact same for every event. Now, the gift bag doesn't actually cost me anything. Those are all in-kind donations from brands that I personally work with. So they donate the product, but then I pay for the actual pink bag that all the items go into. Gift bags I order from Amazon. They are $644.85. Bar socks I get through Pila Bar. They are $1,440. The yoga mats I purchase through wholesale and they're around $10 per mat, which is still very high, but keep in mind tariffs are insane. That cost is $2,402.50. My resistance bands were a one-time purchase for $2,495. My expenses per city vary so greatly depending on the city, depending on the vendors, if I'm doing any sort of social media trade with the vendors I'm working with. Now let's talk about my revenue. My revenue comes from 2 main streams. Number 1 are my ticket sales. I do all of my ticketing through Eventbrite, and when I first started hosting this event, I priced the ticket at $65 per ticket. Then I have sponsorships. Sponsorships are paid obligations from brand partnerships where they have an on-site activation. I use the money they pay me to execute the activation, cover all of the expenses for their branding, their rentals, their florals, all the things. And then I also typically have a set of deliverables where I have to post online. That being said, I'm gonna break it up city by city. So Dallas was my very first event on April 12th. I sold 200 tickets at $65 each. After Eventbrite fees and taxes, I walked away with $10,000 flat. In addition to my other brand sponsorships, I pulled in $40,200 in my total income. However, my total expenses were $38,892.40. Making my total profit from Dallas Barre to Brunch $1,308. Overall, not bad for my very first event. At least I made a little bit of money. I live in Austin, Texas, so I just drove to Dallas. I did not incorporate the cost of gas or the cost of my hotel for that night, but it's fine. Event number 2 was Austin, Texas on April 13th. I learned my lesson. I will never do 2 cities back to back like this. Again, I sold 200 tickets at $65 each, $10,000 from Eventbrite after taxes and fees. In addition to sponsorships, I brought in $36,200. My total expenses were $35,196.47, making my total profit for Austin $1,003.53. Now, my third event was in Houston, Texas, and surprisingly, this event had the lowest income because I had the lowest brand sponsorships, but I hosted this event at Boxwood Manor, and I cannot speak highly enough of their team and Morgan Wagner. They have an incredible network of vendors that they work with, and so when they found out that I was coming to Houston, they got me connected to all of their people, and so many of them offered to do work for this event for free in exchange for content. $10,000 in ticket sales and $15,000 in sponsorships made my total revenue $25,000, which is significantly lower than all of my other cities, but my total expenses were $16,289.50, making my total profit $8,710.50. Woo! That was the first time that I made like a pretty significant amount of money on an event. But then we go to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland is my hometown. The Midwest really doesn't get a lot of events like this, and I knew it was gonna sell out super, super quickly. So I decided to do 2 events back to back and make the entire capacity 400 guests. Another thing about doing events in a smaller city is that there are far less vendor options, which means they can charge you way more. I actually sold 370 tickets because I had a lot of family and friends that were coming to the event. My total in ticket revenue was $19,240. I did not have a lot of sponsorships for this event. Now, here is another thing that people really do not understand. When it comes to doing events in smaller markets, it is so difficult to get brands on board. Typically, if they're going to put money into an event, they want to see that this event is somewhere where they already have a large audience themselves. When I say I'm going to Cleveland, Ohio, yes, I love it, and I know that I have a very, very engaged audience there, but a lot of brands just don't want to put their money there. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but it's just the reality of it. Ticket sales plus sponsorships for this event, my total income was $37,240. My total expenses for this event was $41,322.53, meaning I actually lost $4,082.53 on this event. I really don't think it's a big deal. Obviously, it's not ideal to lose money on an event, but I just personally believe you have to spend money to make money. It's always going to come back in different ways. You just got to trust in that. Now, my final event was in Boston. At this point, I had already done 4 other cities for Barre Brunch, so it became significantly easier for us to sell sponsorships to other brands because we had data that we could share with them and content so they knew what they were getting themselves involved with if they decided they wanted to sponsor my event. That being said, ticket sales plus sponsorships, we brought in $42,875. My total expenses were $39,620, making my total profit $3,255. Cleveland and Boston were the only cities that I actually had to fly somewhere. I stayed with my family when I was in Cleveland, so no hotel fee. And I just kind of lost track of my personal expenses when I was in Boston, so I'm just not going to include that. However, I did do a giveaway for my Boston Girls Weekend. I flew 2 girls into Boston for the weekend. I had them stay at the hotel I was at. I took them to the Jonas Brothers concert, took them to dinner, and then they also came to Barre Brunch. I spent around $2,000 on that giveaway itself. I don't necessarily consider that an expense for Barre Brunch, but it was like a marketing expense, I guess. So you decide if you want to deduct that or not. For the sake of this, we're not going to include the cost of the giveaway. All of the profits combined between the 5 cities totals $10,194.50 in profit from 2025 Barre Brunch. My ears are hot. My last event was in Boston 6 months ago, which means we've been taking the last 6 months to take all of this data, strategize a 2026 calendar, and pitch different sponsorship tiers to brand partners. I just kicked off the 2026 season last weekend in Orlando, so stay tuned for my next price breakdown. Let me know any other questions you have about Barre Brunch or just event planning in general.